To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
We've talked about the Disney theme park cinematic universe. We've talked even at some points about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but this time it's a bit of a different story. You guys ever heard of Figment? Who am I kidding? Of course you've heard of Figment. He's all over the parks, everywhere, especially at Epcot. He's from Journey into Imagination, a near opening day attraction at Epcot that taught guests all about the power of their imagination, led by the Dreamfinder and, of course, his purple dragon friend, Figment. He's grown into a very popular Disney character over the years and has shown up in other attractions, his own comic books, and even at one point his own television show, which would have been terrible, and I'm glad it got the boot. But the ride in its many different forms over the years is either famous or infamous depending on who you ask. Currently he appears in Journey into Imagination with Figment, which is the third incarnation of Journey into Imagination. But we're not going to be focusing entirely on Figment in this episode because we're focusing on the world that Figment is built around, and how that world ties together many different worlds and movies that you think would have no interaction with each other at all because that'd just be outlandish. This is the story of how one ride at Epcot and one tiny purple dragon tie together not just one, not just two, but many different universes of movies. This, everybody, is the Figment Cinematic Universe. Let's start with Journey into Imagination with Figment, the third version of the ride that takes place at the Imagination Institute. It's told to us at the beginning of the ride that we're going to be taking a tour of the Imagination Institute, led by the chairman himself, Nigel Channing, played by Eric Idle from Monty Python. Figment decides to join us for the open house and ends up turning the whole thing upside down. Literally, he turns his house upside down. But we're not focusing on Figment himself just yet. We're focusing instead on the entire Imagination Institute. Because as soon as you enter the open house, or the queue for the ride, it becomes obvious that the ride takes place in a combined universe of Disney's greatest hits from the 90s. On the wall, you see portraits of people who contribute to the Imagination Institute, like Wayne Szalinski from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, played by Rick Moranis, and Philip Brainerd from Flubber, played by Robin Williams, which immediately puts the story of Journey into Your Imagination, Journey into Imagination with Figment, and the original ride into the same universe as these two other movies. So right off the bat, obviously it's easy to tell when you go through the queue that we have two movies that tie into this universe. But as you board the ride, more and more references start to appear to other movies that take place in this universe. A very popular one, of course, being the computer wore tennis shoes, which you can see in front of the server room at sort of a midpoint during the ride. We also see an office for Dean Higgins and a jacket for the Medfield College, a college that appears in the older Flubber movies, The Absent-Minded Professor and Son of Flubber, The Strongest Man in the World, Now You See Him, Now You Don't, and The Shaggy D.A., which is of course a sequel to The Shaggy Dog. Now for some reason, Kurt Russell appears a lot in this cinematic universe. You have no idea. Now maybe you've seen these movies, more likely you haven't, but that doesn't change the fact that they do happen in the same universe as the Imagination Institute, so go ahead and add them to the list. And also the fact that the Imagination Institute even exists is a reference to Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, which played at both Disneyland and Walt Disney World for a time, replacing Captain EO. But now let's pivot, not to another park at Walt Disney World, but to Disneyland in California and California Adventure, and I'm sure you guys can see where I'm going with this. It appears that, over the years, Figment has gotten himself captured by the Collector and is now part of the Collector's collection. Now the implications of this are massive because Figment exists in this Marvel universe, but this is not the MCU. I've talked about this before, but I think it bears repeating. The rides that are currently a part of the theme park universe are of course Mission Breakout, Ant-Man and the Wasp Nano Battle, and of course the Iron Man Experience in Hong Kong, and the future Avengers campus areas at Paris, Hong Kong, and California Adventure. This is sort of a splinter universe from the MCU, where Thanos snapping half of all life out of existence never happened. I'd like to think that deep down, the Marvel theme park universe at California Adventure is the universe where Thor actually ended up going for the head. As a result, Avengers Endgame never happened, and, spoiler alert, Tony Stark is still alive. I whipped up this real quick and very sloppy diagram of the origins of this universe. We start, of course, with the first Avenger in 1943, but then moves on to movies like The Shaggy Dog, The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, and then in 1983, Journey into Imagination, the original, happens at Epcot. Followed by Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in 1989, and then of course Captain Marvel happens in 1995. These movies all take take place in the same year they came out, by the way, except for Captain Marvel and Captain America, of course. Those are period pieces. Flubber later happens, and then of course the Imagination Institute takes over the building at Epcot, and Journey into Imagination with Figment happens in 2002, 6 years later, followed by Robert Downey Jr., or Tony Stark, I guess, as Iron Man. And then of course after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, there's a couple of years and Figment is captured along with the rest of the Guardians. We don't know how long Figment has been in the Collector's Fortress, but it was certainly after 2002. If we follow the rule of the movies and the ride takes place in the year it opened, Figment is found in the Collector's Fortress in 2017. Now it gets even bigger because there are Easter eggs and references in the queue for Mission Breakout. References to the Twilight Zone because the Tower of Terror was there before, and of course XS Tech, the extraterrestrial alien encounter. And we all know where Alien Encounter takes place. It's in the Tomorrowland Convention Center, which means Tomorrowland exists in this universe too. But of course we already knew that because at the end of Black Panther, Shuri mentions that she wants to go to Disneyland. But remember, the movies and California Adventure, they're two different universes, so I'm just gonna say the Black Panther reference is something we can brush off. It doesn't matter. Are you following me still? Does any of this make sense to you guys at all? Here's where it gets really crazy though. This one small detail in Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout kind of either ruins or makes everything tie together perfectly, depending on who you ask. One of the audio cues in the Mission Breakout elevator shaft has Rocket Raccoon sort of poking fun at Disney fans by mentioning how Disneyland is right in front of the Collector's Fortress and how it's not thematically consistent.
Disneyland? That's thematically inconsistent.
And we trace Guardians back to XS Tech and XS Tech back to Tomorrowland. The theme parks are canon in this whole connected universe, which explains why Honey, I Shrunk the Audience takes place at the Disney parks, or why Tony Stark decides to hold a mini Stark Expo in Tomorrowland at Hong Kong Disneyland. It all ties back to Journey into Imagination. And now we need to take into account the Disney Kingdom comic books, and honestly, whether or not these things are in canon, it's kind of up to you. I personally don't like to think that they are, but they are all connected, similar to Marvel Comics because they are made by Marvel Comics. That means Journey into Imagination, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, The Shaggy Dog, Captain Marvel, the Avengers Infinity War, all of that take place in the same universe as the Haunted Mansion, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, the Enchanted Tiki Room, and if you've seen my video before, Disney's Grand Conspiracy, that means all of these rides take place within the same universe again as Indiana Jones, or Pirates of the Caribbean, the new Jungle Cruise movie that's probably never going to come out that I really want to watch. And of course, with references in the Jungle Cruise and the Haunted Mansion, Indiana Jones, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers is also canon to this Marvel universe. And that is where I'm going to leave it for now, because there are tons more Easter eggs and references, like a reference to XS Tech and the line for Stitch's Great Escape, which means Lilo and Stitch share the same universe as Iron Man. And of course, Lilo and Stitch do have a TV show that crossed over with a bunch of other Disney Channel shows, but at this point, honestly, I'm just digging the hole deeper and deeper. What do you guys think? Am I digging too deep into this? Because at the end of the day, these are just Easter eggs. They're something fun people put in these rides or these TV shows to reference or pay homage to other projects that they may have worked on in the past, or ones that they just fondly remember. But either way you slice it or dice it, Constance Hatchaway and the Hatbox Ghost share a universe with Thanos. Alright, that's the takeaway from this video. And returning now to where this all started, the title of the video, this all ties back to a little tiny purple dragon from an Epcot ride. Figment and Dreamfinder are the glue that holds this universe together, and I'm hoping that someday soon we may see a return to form for Journey into Imagination. Not that I don't like Dr. Nigel Channing, I just like Dreamfinder more. If you guys can think of any other connections, please leave them down in the comments below, because I'd love to further this theory, make the web even bigger, extend it out to all the Disney properties. Maybe some non-Disney properties. I mean, you could tie it all back to Figment, or you could tie it all back to the man who created Figment and Dreamfinder. Many people like to credit Kevin Feige with the founding of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but everybody, we all know that it starts at Figment. And who created Figment? Dreamfinder. And who created Dreamfinder? That's right, everyone. The man who has been behind the curtain all along, the one pulling the strings behind this universe, leading us all on this grand adventure. This isn't the Figment Cinematic or Theme Park Universe, everyone. This is the Tony Baxter Theme Park Universe. I rest my case. Was that one a little hard to follow? I'm sorry if it was. Everybody, thank you all so much for watching this video on how Figment ties together a lot of seemingly unconnected theme park universes. If you enjoy these weird theory videos, I make some of them from time to time, please hit the like button, and if you're new around here and you want to see more theory videos like this, hit the subscribe button, because we'd love to have you stick around. As you can see scrolling on the side of the screen, I'd like to thank all of my Patreon supporters over at patreon.com. Head over to the link in the description if you want early access to things like episode audio, videos, and, sometimes just a fun conversation if you're feeling up for it. My patrons really help me continue this channel. They keep the world spinning round, so I'd like to thank all of them for all of their support, no matter how much or how long they've been a part of the club. And real quick before I end the video, I'd just like to say that no, unfortunately, there will not be a Halloween special this year. I know, guys, I'm sorry. I've done one almost every year since my channel was created, but this year, yeah, I just don't know what to talk about. Haunted Mansion-wise, or even just Halloween theme park-wise. I just don't know what I'm gonna talk about this year, and I don't want to rush out a video that I don't really feel invested in making because it's gonna be bad, unlike this one, which is incredibly good because I love this theory, if I do say so myself. But yeah, sorry guys, no Halloween special this year. But again, thank you all so much for your support, and I will be doing a sort of holiday special. Stay tuned for that. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up now. This has been a very long end card because I just wanted to talk to you guys about a lot of things. So, thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.